All right, so welcome back to the talent acquisition and recruitment HR function. In the first stage, we talked about how we can put together a job description, what's critical, and the components of a job description, its features, as well as talent components of talent acquisition, its meaning, its definition, and its importance in the workplace. Now, today, we'll be looking at stage two of the talent acquisition process. Can anyone put in the comment section what the stage one should look like or what the stage one is? Okay, let's do that quickly so we can read it and discuss it as soon as we are able to. All right. So with stage two, we'll be looking at sourcing and attracting candidates. Sourcing and attracting candidates. When we talk about sourcing and attracting candidate, what that means is that this crucial steps is involved with the recruitment process, which means that you are proactively identifying candidates, potential candidates who can take up the role, who have the right qualities, the right competencies, duties, or skills rather, abilities to be able to deliver on their job. Now, why attraction focus on making your company appealing to them? All right. The idea is that your task, your assignment as an HR practitioner is to make sure that all the activities as regards sourcing and attracting the right candidate is to is to sell your company as the ideal company brand or the ideal employer brand that will that has the right environment, the ambience to work effectively or to deliver on the job. There is no staff, there's no employee or potential employee who will not love to work in an organization. Now, the duty of the HR is to sell the best parts of every business, as much as you will also try to balance up in some of the odds or some of the weak areas. Now, let me give you this example. So there was a time I was recruiting for an organization in recent times, and when it was time to meet with the candidates, interviews, we'll get there. When we were speaking with them, first phase, second phase, by the time we got to the third phase of the interview, the candidates were meeting with the executive team, including the CEO. While the candidates were speaking, were responding to some of the conversations, some of the questions that the executive was asking, the executive realized that you guys are saying so beautiful things about our organization. Did you read on about us? Or the HR, the person in charge that sold us, in such a good light. So that is the idea. And we noticed that, and I noticed that during that process, the executives were happy that I was able to sell the company to these candidates. And also the employees were potential employees, these potential candidates were at peace. All right. They were at peace with, they were very comfortable with the fact that they could bear their minds, share their thoughts, share their fears, even during an interview process. So the idea is that an HR practitioner must be able to, as much as possible, sell the company on the good light as a beautiful employer brand and also create a balance, okay, even with her weaknesses. Now, during that interview process, one of the key things I made them understand was that because the company was starting up, and in starting up, we were just setting up our structures, our payment structures, benefits and compensation. We needed to let them know that some benefits and compensation were not yet in operations, although we have started the application, but it has not been approved. So even with that, we needed to balance, the good part of the organization that was already running and also the part where we were coming up because it was our weaker link. All right. Now, at the end of the day, regardless of whatever it is that they heard, they were very much interested in coming on board the organization. Now, I'm trying to share this real life example with you because it is the responsibility of the HR practitioner to attract the best of hands. But in attracting the best of hand, you will not put to detriment the employer in which they are coming from and coming on board the organization. You cannot throw your employer to the trash. You cannot put them in the trash can. You cannot sell their bad side and leave it at that, forgetting that there are other good things like career growth that this potential candidate might just be interested in to come on board. Give or take, an HR practitioner who is sourcing and attracting candidates can must build balance between the odds and as well as the positive side of what of the business. Now, how do we attract and retain customers? What should we consider when you want to source for these candidates? We have done our job description, we have designed our job call or job advertisement, we are ready to place them, okay, out there to the public, bearing in mind that if it's an existing organization, there are other employees that might be interested in taking up those roles. So let's consider that we have done all of this already, but yet have not been able to get the kind of candidates we want, or the existing employees within our organization has their hands full and are not able to accommodate those roles, or those roles are new positions that we do not have the internal capacity with our team to deliver, to take up those vacancies and to deliver on the job. So we have decided that we want to put the job call outside. Now, what should we consider and what platform should we consider when putting the job call outside? Number one, leverage online platforms as social media and professional network. In the first stage of the talent acquisition module, we talked about the platforms, the professional platforms like LinkedIn and other social media platform like Facebook, like Instagram, even like TikTok or every other platform. What closed WhatsApp group too, focus group on WhatsApp community groups. We also considered that. You can also leverage LinkedIn groups. Okay, LinkedIn groups also a good platform. Telegram groups are also a good platform to share your other your job calls or your job advert. So leverage online platforms where you have your target audience heavily vested on this platform, okay, so as to save time and energy. Number two, consider job boards and aggregators. Job boards and aggregators are also platforms. Most of it digital are platforms like Indeed, like the Lighthouse HR company website and the HireTrick program, software as a service that is powered by Lighthouse HR company. So these are platforms LinkedIn is also part of it. These are platforms you can use to do what? To be able to share your job opportunities, your job vacancies. Number three, resume database. Now every HR practitioner is encouraged to have data pool, a pool of potential candidates that might be interested or have the ability to take on the role. So you can always refer to them. Now, if you look at job calls for recruitment, one of the things you will always see as one of the criteria or requirement for taking up those roles, you will see this right, you will see it there. Candidate must be able to leverage job pools or candidate pool or candidate database for resumes, so that at the click of a finger you can easily access existing data, existing CVs or resumes in the database before you even consider taking those roles to the public. Okay. Then AI powered tools. Of course, we have the likes of ChatGPT, we have the likes of Gemini, we have so many of them, popular ones, unpopular ones that are able to help you, you know, manage your time, manage your expectation and produce for you exactly what you need. So consider leveraging AI power tools. Now, if you are already using or leveraging AI power tools, you can share as many examples as you can on the comment section. One way or the other, another participant will need this information, and then you'll be contributing to the success of their work. Okay. Then Boolean search, number five. Boolean search is a method of online searches where you are using keywords like and or not. That's an example. So you want these candidates to be tech savvy and female. So you want the virtual assistant, for example, or you are hiring for a computer science computer science specialist, so let me use that, or computer science graduate. You want the one of the criteria is that this candidate must possess computer science educational background and must be able to program. Or you are saying you want the virtual assistant or the medical doctor to be a general medical practice or family practice, or you want him to be or her to be a surgeon. Okay, so you also consider I want a human resource officer or a human resource business associate that does not have up to 10 years experience. So this boiling search, the use of and or not are key terms, are keywords that you can put on on your search to be able to sieve out your answers and give you the exact report or result that you desire. Then you have offline recruitment. Offline recruitment could come as referrals. Okay, offline recruitment could come as you know people that you have seen in the past and you just remembered, oh, I remember this person. As long as you are not on the internet, okay, could be from your religious community, from your church, from your mosque, or from your shrine, your traditional groups, okay, where people, your traditional worship group as it were. It could be from your neighbors, it could be referral from maybe your domestic staff and all that. So an offline recruitment search or offline search is also a tool that you can leverage, or a technique or strategy that you can leverage. We also talk about recruitment events. We have job fairs, we have career fairs, we have recruitment exhibitions where organizations and companies come together. They partner with recruiters and candidates come. Some of these events are done for final year students in the university or in higher institutions, tertiary institutions, the polytechnics or so, the colleges of education. So you have fairs like that. It can even be sometimes conducted by the government or some private parastatals. So we come together, do collaborate together and conduct job fairs. So recruitment events as such will also help you to be able to get as many candidates as possible. Then employee referrals, I've talked about that. Talent pools and databases in line with resume pools also is also a factor you can consider. Another important technique or strategy in assessing and in assessing this kind of information or these critical people in the stage two of sourcing and attracting talent is that you can consider rehiring former employees that have left the organization, especially those who have left in good terms. If they are very much available to take up another role or same role, you can bring them back. Now it's easy to deal with these people who have left in good terms because they already have an understanding of the culture of the business. Now if the executive team approves of this and they don't mind taking up this person maybe on a new terms of agreement, a new model of service delivery, then yes, you should consider it. Now let's talk about interviewing. All right, let's talk about interviewing. You have placed your job call, right? You have designed your job yes, you have designed your job call, you have placed your job call, you have gotten as many candidates as you have. Now it is time to sort them out and interview the candidate. Now in sorting these people, in sorting these applications, you can receive your application. For those who have received their applications through email, okay, the bulk of it, all right, the bulk of it can be a little challenging and time consuming if you are not leveraging on applicants tracking softwares or systems that can help you to automatically sort them. Now the disadvantage, there's always the advantage. The advantage of using an ATS is much more than the disadvantage. However, where the disadvantage comes in is where the key points at the back end is not properly configured. So if you just choose certain words, or certain keywords at the back end when you're configuring your ATS, and at the end of the day, the result is sieving out or is taking out quality candidates and leaving you with candidates who do not closely fit what you are looking for, please always refer back to what the back end of your ATS. You can get your IT team to get that all sorted for you. But it's also important that as an HR practitioner, you know how an ATS works. Over time, maybe before the end of, by the tail end of the program, we'll be looking at the human resource information systems. One of the examples will be also how to manage or how to use an applicant tracking system or an application tracking system. Now, once you have sorted your CVs, if you are using the ATS will automatically sieve out the best of candidates as it closely fits the features that you have placed, on the ATS. On the other hand, if you are sorting your CVs yourself, either via email or whatever platform you have collected the the CVs or the application, it is now time for you to take your time. Your team takes their time to sort out these CVs and then bring out the best fit as you will require. Now it's time to interview. We have gotten the candidates we need, right? We have gotten the candidates we need. We have seen their CVs and their qualification experience and all that. Now we want to meet them face to face. In conducting an interview, what you want to establish is what job competencies do they have. Yes, it has been written on their application and their CV. Their cover letter says it all. But we want to ascertain, we want to establish the fact that their job competencies, which is their skills, their behavior, their attitude, their experiences, actually fits what we are looking for. We want to review the candidates' materials. Materials could be their CVs, their claims, their experiences. We want to talk about what questions are we going to ask these people based on either their competencies, based on their experience, as well as what we desire to have on board our company. Then we'll look at interviewing candidates. Okay. Now, when we are establishing job competencies, what questions should we ask? Remember that interviews are conversations. It's like a question and answer session. Okay, we meet you? What is your name? Are you the only child in your family? What can you deliver on the job? Can you tell us your experiences? Interviews is a question and answer session that we cannot but engage. Do we understand? All right, so outcomes, establishing job competencies. Now, number one key point is that you want to know the outcome. What do you want this person to establish? You want to know the outcome. When I bring this person on board, how will I do what? How will the person deliver on the job? Will the person be able to accomplish the task, the responsibilities, and the duties? Does the person have all it takes to ensure that the outcome, the product, the end result of having this person on board will do what? Will do me well, will do the organization well, will take us where we want to be and bring us, take us to, in achieving in executing the big picture, achieving the big picture. Number two, skills. What actual skills and knowledge must this person possess or does this person have in order to achieve the desired outcome? So we're not starting from the beginning. We already have the big picture in mind as HR practitioners. So we are working backwards. We are working from the end. Let me give you this example. We want to hire a salesperson who is able to increase the financial inflow, the revenue of the company. Say, for example, if Lighthouse HR company was doing 50 million in revenue, okay, in the past. Now we are saying HR, okay, hire for us a sales executive or a sales senior or someone in business development who can take us to our 2025, 2026 to 2027 goal where we can earn 500 million. Now, the big picture or the big goal at the end of the day is that we want to hit 500 million in the nearest possible, in the shortest of time as a goal. Now, we now work backwards. Who is able to take us to the 500 million naira revenue as we desire it? What skills do we need? What persons do we need? What kind of experience? What kind of competency? Is this person, how can we get someone who will align with our goal to achieve this result even at half the time? These are questions the HR is supposed to ask. So you are not going to start looking for a senior executive or a senior salesperson or a salesperson with the net worth, okay? The network or the net worth of persons that they have in contact with. You cannot just pick somebody and then begin to work the person, begin to build the goal. Rather, you are working, you already know the outcome. The outcome has been designed. It is your responsibility to now walk backwards. And you are asking yourself another question: what experience is necessary to be able to execute the big picture, to be able to reach your outcome? What experience is helpful but not absolutely needful? There are some experiences that are absolutely necessary, absolutely needful. There are some experiences that are like support. Okay, if this person has these key experiences, these key competencies and skills, we can have secondary competencies and skills. So when we looked at the Boolean search, what I mentioned was that you can have this and this. You can have this or this, and then you can have this but not this. So these are key things that we must consider in choosing the right candidate. Then organizational alignment. You are asking questions like, what does this specific environment of this position require? All right. If you are bringing this person, what attitude must the person come with? Because this kind of environment is an environment where, for example, sales, people have to be optimistic, constantly optimistic, constantly positive, constantly pushing, to be able to, they must be driven. Okay, because you don't need a salesperson who come and sit, as they say, salespeople don't have offices, offices to sit at and just put their legs on the table. Okay, rather you are saying we need a salesman constantly on the field, constantly online, reaching out to people, making calls, or doing the best that they can do, at least as regards that particular environment or the climes in which that business operates in. Okay, now do we have that specific environment where this position or this person can come on board and they will deliver optimally? What personal characteristics are helpful in being successful in the position the person is to take up? So you're talking about the person's attitude, the person's character and behavior. Okay. Just as I said, salespeople need to have continuous in an environment where they are continuously driven, a positive, comfortable, satisfactory environment where the attitude is right, the ambience is right, the resources that they needed to push are given to them or are released and their disposal, and then they are constantly, evaluating their performance for growth. Then you will know that what you are on the right track. Now, after you have asked this question, yeah, so what should you look for in a CV or in a resume? What should I look for? You're looking for signs of achievements. You're looking for specific results. You're looking for gaps in time. Now you're looking for transferable skills and experiences. Now, in science of achievement, one of the key things you need to understand is that for every responsibility and duty, there must be achievement. People who have stayed in organizations a long time are not able to articulate. So you've stayed in a business for 5 years, for 10 years, for 2 years, 3 years, and you are not able to articulate what you have achieved in all of these years that you have or months you have stayed in the organization, then we will need to question it. My question will be, did you indeed do this task, or you just curated your CV in accordance with I want to answer you with the I want to give you the answers that you people want to hear, or the recruiters or the interviewers want to hear, as against the reality of the matter. Okay, so when you are speaking, when you are having your interviews, you're asking questions that will expose or reveal signs of achievement. And where you do not see this, it means that it is time to question the candidate if indeed their claims are correct or are right. Then you are looking at gaps in time. It's okay to have gaps in time, but should it be explainable, should you as an HR practitioner be open-minded to be able to receive a correct explanation as to what happened when there was as to what happened during the gap. So HR practitioners, hear me. It is okay to have gaps in time. Okay, do not be ashamed of this. For yourself as a practitioner, and even for the candidates you are interviewing. So when you see CVs, okay, you see CVs and there are gaps. Oh, between 2020, the year 2020 and the year 2023, you were not doing anything. Your CV does not show that you are doing anything. The question is, what happened, or what were you engaged with that made that gap? Now, if it's a private matter, I will always encourage the candidate to share reasons. You might not necessarily go deep, especially if it's a private matter. Some people are dealt with health issues, some people are dealt with physical and mental health issues, some people needed to take off time off work to balance, to get well. It might not even be health, it could be well financially. Some people had to step out of the career path a bit just to go back to school, some to take care of their loved ones. So that gap in time could mean anything. People who have experienced gap in time should not be ashamed of the gap in time. Some people have had to forfeit their career path temporarily to train their siblings in school, to cater for their families, to cater for other people, or whatever experiences they had. Okay, do not be ashamed for gaps in time. As an HR practitioner, a candidate, or even a business owner. All right. So if a CEO or a founder of a business decides that, oh, I want to pause business for a while and then continue, it's okay. However, when you need to present and explain or defend these gaps in time, make sure that what it is quite relevant. Okay, it is relevant. Most of these that I have encountered are relevant, and when this due diligence was conducted, we needed to vet the process either via the guarantor, the references. We found that yes, indeed, these gaps in time were worth it. Okay, some people take gaps in time for a rebound. Oh, they're experiencing some challenges, please, I just need quiet for a while, and then they go back to the drawing board, they revisit their goals and the principles and their desires, and then they find purpose, and then they return back again. They return back to the what to the career, to start the continue the career journey. So consider gaps in time, and be comfortable talking about it. Then specific results. You have been in this role for a while. What results can you show? Can you offer? Can you present to the table as proof that what you can deliver on the job based on your history? Then transferable skills. You have these skills, you have this experience. Can you teach another person? Can you transfer these skills to another or multiple persons within the team? So these also are key factors that we must look at when you are looking at someone's CV or resume or application. Then, do they have the appropriate education and work background? Someone who did not study medicine cannot say he wants to be a doctor. Someone who does not have the medical background, as a pharmacist, cannot say he wants to sell drugs. What do you know you are selling? Okay, so what that means is that you cannot say you want to take up someone who studied mechanical engineering without a medical background to become our family doctor, okay, to attend to a patient in a hospital. So your CV, the CV you are looking at, must have appropriate education and work background. Then large numbers of relocation. This has been a challenge for HR practitioners. Now we understand that we're in the generation of nomads. Nomad means that we move around a lot, okay? Especially the tech bros and the tech sis. But the point is that when companies, I think we had talked about in one of the HRIP models, earlier models. Now, when you see people who move around a lot, what that at first glance, except if there are other explanations, right? Because I tell you, HR practitioner needs to be open-minded, except if there are other valid explanations, valid being the operational word, valid explanation as to the constant moving. What that means is that that person, regardless of the skills, of the ability, of the power to do deliver on the job, might not stay long with you. Now, if you are looking for a contract staff, one who will not stay for long because the project is, has a time frame, fine, you can pick up people who will not stay for long. However, people who do not stay for long shows that the company is likely not going to, is not, no matter what they do, is not able to keep them excited and keep them to stay within the organization. Or some people will tell you, I do not stay more than 2 years, 3 years in a business. Okay, because they want to go up the ladder. If I leave this organization A and I get organization B, when they are taking me on the new role, they are giving me higher pay, better opportunities, and I have to grow. Okay, but some people on the other note just believe that they cannot stay in a place more than 18 months or 1 year. It is not good for your career trajectory. HRs, you must understand that where there are no valid explanation for constant relocation or leaving an organization often, I've seen so many CVs, 1999 to 2000, 2010, 2010, and then within 5 years, you have worked in 8 organizations, in 8 businesses. And I'm saying, so what did you learn in all of this? Why are you moving around? Once I notice that, for me, it's a put off. However, when I see all other things, all other factors that we have mentioned now, okay, and that's okay, call the person, let's talk to the person. Even if it's to find out exactly what's going on, all right, then then maybe if we have the opportunity to help, we can, offer our support, our advice and all that. But where the candidate is not open, our hands are up. All right, so continuity and duration of employment is also important. Large numbers of relocation, does this person, will the person able to continue with us? Does the person stay in employment long enough to grow with the company? Most businesses, not even some, most businesses want the best of hands to grow with them. Now, for employers who are taking this course, I need you to also know, all right, or potential employers, I need you to also know that if you want good hands to work with you and grow with you, you must also consider their well being, their welfare, okay, their health and safety. You must consider that every individual by nature does not want to stay dormant or does not want to stay stagnant. We all want to grow. It is now left for us to put in the works and what is necessary to engage with growth. So, business owners, aspiring employers here listening to me, listening to this session, bear in mind that if you want the best of hands to stay, because no one wants to lose their best hands, right? So, if you want the best of hands to stay, provide an enabling environment for them to grow. Provide the resources they need to take care of themselves. All right. So please bear in mind this key point. Unclear, incomplete, and conflicting information. There are cases where the dates are not right. There are cases where, like now, recently I was doing an interview with a client, and the final interview with the client, and the client was, we were asking key questions based on the CV. So you left the south and you came to the west because you got a call for a training. Now, after the training, you said you were not picked. Okay, why were you not picked for the training? You gave your reasons. By the time we checked the date, we noticed that you have worked in 4 companies within 1 year. Now we have conflicting dates versus conflicting experiences. So we had to question the authenticity of the claims of these candidates based on the CVs we saw and even the responses within the from the person. So please bear in mind that you are also looking at unclear, incomplete, or conflicting information. We have talked about large numbers of relocation. It cannot be overemphasized. Okay, please look at this so that you don't hire somebody and after probation, when you are ready to confirm the person, you just find out that the person has even given you a resignation letter. If they follow the principles of the company, the policies of the company, or they just disappear one day and they say after they have received salary, we don't see them. Okay, it comes back to the HR stable. All right, so bear this in mind. Then accuracy in spelling, grammar, and format. All right, also look at this. Job changes that do not indicate advancement. There are some people who take up, if you see their CV, they're secretaries, they took up secretarial duties January to March or January to December. In By the next following year, by January, they've decided to take up the role of maybe a contract worker in a manufacturing company. Then they've gone back to being an office assistant. I'm trying to stay, at low level. Even it happens also at middle level, at senior level, where people just go round the circle. It is not showing in any way, or 10 steps forward, 2 steps backwards, right? Your CV is showing it. It's not showing in any way that you are progressing. So if you come in as an HR officer or an HR associate, or an entry level HR practitioner, you will grow to be a junior, then you grow to be maybe a senior, a mid level associate, then you become a lead, or an officer, a lead, a team builder, a team lead, and then you move up to managerial level, then to senior management, and then we are growing up to VP, okay, or even beyond the role of a VP. It is showing growth, but places where people are changing jobs and it's not showing growth, not just financial growth, but growth in responsibility and duties, of course it needs to be questioned. Not necessarily because they are not doing the right them, not necessarily because they are not, you know working, okay, exerting energy, achieving one or two things for themselves. But the point is that it means that it's either they are not seeing that growth is not happening, advancement is not happening, and they need help and support, or it is just done intentionally for lack of what? Knowledge, lack of information, ignorance. So please suggest other factors in the comment section where we can, what should we look at in a resume? What should we look at in a CV? Now, in terms of quizzes, there are some organizations as HR practitioners that after you have conducted your search, some will do interviews and we will not conduct quizzes or tests. Some will look at we conduct quizzes, conduct tests to, streamline the candidates, and at the end of the day, we now conduct interviews. Now, when you choose to conduct quizzes, when you choose to conduct, you're asking questions during the interview, what should you look at? Let's look at some. Consider gender, consider color, national origin, orientation, genetic information, age, sexual identity, race, conviction, and all that, educational background. However, we must not, it is unlawful, so to speak, to point fingers, to be discriminatory. Do we understand? So some people pick out, for example, Lighthouse HR Company is an equal opportunity, employment opportunity organization, meaning that we can take in as many people as, not as many people as possible, yes, from different races, different origin, different religious group. However, as long as they do not break the policies of our organization, and they're not making others uncomfortable, okay, our policies, our procedures, our standard operating procedures, and all of the laws that govern the operations of that organization, of Lighthouse HR Company, is key in delivering on the job and in employment. So you also must consider it. HR is not expected to be biased. You must find an opportunity to balance everything that has to do with what your task, and onboarding people, employing them, no discriminations, please. Please bear this in mind. What questions in terms of interview should you consider? You can ask questions on behavioral questions. You can talk about questions on situation analysis. You can have rapport. Some people, their interviews are just conversational. Some will take you out for dinner, take you out for lunch, put you on the spot, put you in certain positions, and then they are watching you and see how you are delivering. Some interviews are closed interviews. So you can also share with us other interviews that you feel, or other interview questions that you can you can suggest or you can carry out during an interview process. We have the closed interview questions, we have the open-ended interview questions. I like behavioral and situational questions, okay, because you have the opportunity to discuss. So when conversations like that are happening, we are rapporting, we are talking, what happens is that in our talks, in our conversation, you have almost answered like 5 to 6 questions. You have answered like 5 to 6 questions without even asking you. Okay, without asking you, without saying much. So we have closed questions, a yes and a no question, yes and no question. But I like situational, behavioral, and talking, having the conversation that is key. Now, in terms of behavioral questions, what should you look at? How did the person perform in the past? A similar role. What's the person's motivation? How do they think? So when we are talking, when we are having, I'm asking you questions on your behavior, on a situation, of course, you are going to talk about how you will respond in that situation. I'm looking at your past experience because some of us will, you mostly will answer based on our experiences in the past or what we know. Options, people, how is the person, I'll be looking at, is this person motivated? How does this person think? Maybe a thought process. How does this person make their decisions? Why? What was behind their decision making? Has the person been able to assess the situation? From what perspective did the person assess this situation, especially the situation or the question I asked? Does this person show problem solving through the responses? Does this person has analytical skills in the sense that they were able to analyze the situation from all possible angles, and it will also show the kind of action the person will take. Okay, so application of prior experiences to future related situations. Okay, so if I say, for example, you are an accountant and your boss, the principle of the organization is that you should deliver 3 invoices, and your superior who recommended a vendor supplied 3 invoices unknown to you, but when you found out that these 3 invoices that were submitted was from one and the same superior, what will you do? So what am I trying to check? I'm trying to check if you had prior experience and how you handled it, and how you will handle it if such situation occurs in the future. I'm trying to look at how you assess the situation, how you will analyze the situation. Okay, are you going to put your superior under the boss? Are you going to send a report up to to the management or to the leadership where you can, so that you can call for quality control? Are you going to move to the procurement department and call their attention to it? So with all of this, what happens is that we know how you are thinking. Now, examples of questions you can ask is the question, what are your strengths? What's the strength of the candidate? The answer could be, I think I'm a hard worker. I'm not just saying you should think it. I'm saying that, do you have an evaluation of your skills and your weaknesses, which even as an HR practitioner, you should consider. There are questions, open-ended questions, like please share with us maybe a project that you have done before, what was required, what external and internal resources was required for you to deliver on such job. What did you do differently? Okay, what did you do differently? How did you behave? How were you able to put your thoughts together? How were you able to present yourself, in such difficult or easy decisions? Okay. So these are questions you should be able to consider. There are times when you also ask behavioral questions like, tell me about a time when. These are open-ended questions. So you want to demonstrate and find out how that candidate is able to demonstrate on the job the kind of criteria you need, even without you asking them a yes and a no answer. If you use closed up questions, all you will likely to get are very streamlined answers. But when when you give situational questions, behavioral questions that are open-ended, and there's a conversation, is going to help you to be able to answer a lot of questions from their responses. Now, how do you want to start a question? Okay, how do you want to start a question? One of the ways to start a question is, tell me about a time when you exhibited this particular behavior. All right. So if you are quality control and you've encountered a situation or you've fallen into a situation where you had to break protocol or the principles or the structure of checking processes, of checking quality, now tell me about a time when you exhibited this. So they will tell you stories, they'll share their experiences. Then you can ask, like, give me an example of a time when you did this, and this. Can you describe a situation that you were able to meet your target of 1 billion naira, $1 billion? Okay. You could then they share their stories. Then could you describe a time when you had particular difficulty in, you know, in a particular situation, either with a customer, and how did you undo it? Okay. Tell me about a work situation where you had to do this, and what you did in that situation. Have you ever had to? So these are open-ended questions. Or let's say you encounter this particular situation. You explain the situation. Your question is, how are you able to manage this, or how are you able to encounter it? So it is important that HR practitioners must learn how to use open-ended question. You must learn how to use open-ended question. So use star and ask a behavioral question. Look at situation. That's one of the formulas that you can engage. Look at the situation and then look at the task. Create a situation and the task in that situation. You have the background or context in which the person acted or the person should act. Okay. Now, what's the action? What the person did in that particular situation, just as the example I shared. You have someone as an accountant, your superior, the policy, procurement policy states that you should deliver 2 or 3 or 4 invoices from different vendor, but your superior, because of whatever reason in code, whether genuine or not genuine, brought multiple invoices from one and the same vendor. All right. What happens is this. What's the task? What should the person do? Of course, that's the task. What was the situation? Multiple invoices. Okay. Now the action is that what did the person do to come out of the situation or to resolve it, or what should the person do? That's an action. Then result, what is the effect of the person's action? So once you give out situational questions like this, you are able to answer what the person will do, the outcome of the action, the way the person thinks, the way the person has analyzed the situation, the way the person has solved the problem, and many other reasons why this has to be done, or why this was done. Now, when you are interviewing, leveraging the situational interview question, remember we just talked about the behavioral interview questions, right? Now, when you are looking at situational interview question, this is when a candidate may not have the actual experience. Yes, the candidate may not have the actual, for behavioral, it is assumed that the person already has the experience. For situational, it is a blend of both, but majorly that this person does not have the experience, but we want to know what the person will do in carrying out the task. You want to see how the candidate will assess the situation. We want to see how the person's thought process in solving or resolving the situation. So, for example, if you were to develop a program for our department, maybe HR practitioner, a training program, what will you do? So, you want to know how the person will think, what curriculum the person will consider based on a specific, maybe training for manufacturing workers and manufacturing company, or in production, in a production house, into fashion or fashion accessories. Now you are saying, okay, this is what I will do. All right. You are trying to determine what the person will do on the job. If you want to ask questions that will be effective, consider rapport building questions. We've talked about it. Questions that will help them to talk, to share their experiences, to be open to you so that you can know exactly who you are dealing with. Do you think it will ever stop raining? So of course it's either is yes or no, and then you can ask why if need be. I've talked about open-ended questions, right? What do you like about your current job? It's an open, of course, it's open-ended. They will talk about a lot of things, they will share situations, and they will share the pros and cons of the organization. Closed up questions. Closed up question will result to a yes and no, which except when necessary. So contrary evidence question, this versus this. What will you do as against in this situation? What will you do as against this that somebody had done? Okay. You also mentioned you work hard to build your customer service team. Can you tell me about a time when it didn't work? Okay. So sometimes a lot of us like to stay within the confines of what we have achieved, the positive things we have achieved. We forget that during interviews, also, HR practitioners must learn to ask questions that are negative, questions that will bring out the negative side of the individual. Not because you are trying to push the person into the gutters or throw the person under the bus. Rather, you are trying to see how the person will act or the person will be able to respond either to pressure or to negative situations, because life is a circle, right? We cannot always have as long as we have day and night or night and day, all right? What happens is that we'll also have the ups, what, and the downs. So when we have ups and the down, we can learn lessons from the downs and celebrate the ups and learn all the lessons of the future and of tomorrow during our down moments. Okay, then it's okay. Take some time to think about it before you answer. Yes, HR practitioners, do not put your people in pressure. Although you are pressed for time, it is important that you do what? That you take out time to allow your candidates to respond. Now we're going to continue in the next session. We'll be looking at the concluding part of interviews and questions that you should answer during answer and respond to during interviews, what you should not ask during interviews, and then we'll look at the selection process proper. See you in the next session. Bye.